Okay, here we go. Share my second screen. Oh, I got these. Can you see my whole screen or not? No.
Yeah, I
No,
do.
it's well, we've seen everything there.
Okay,
Now we got a shot.
okay. It's not blocked at the top, is it? No.
No,
Okay,
I
good.
think so.
The Zoom controls went over that side, so I don't know why they changed screens. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, this actually started as a brochure I did back in 2018. You can see in the lower left corner. But I'm going to expand on it a little bit from what we did with the Pittsburgh pre-workshop as well as a couple other things. So, and record it and put it up in YouTube too. So for the people who can't be here tonight. So most of you know me, but here's a little introduction to me. I'm a retired automotive engineer. I've been photographing for, gosh, a long time, 50 some years. My dad first gave me a camera back in about 72, I think. Yeah, diverse interests. I've traveled a lot for business as well as pleasure, and started the workshop business just last year. So anyway, get a hold of me here at Scott at scottshieldsPhotoWorkshops.com. Okay, let's talk about fireworks then. First and foremost, fireworks are light trails, right? So, however, fireworks are something much more challenging to shoot. You can never know exactly where they appear or or expect what color they will be. Timing can be very slow paced, or a flurry of explosions can happen all at once. In the photographic world, fireworks are a form of light trails. The expanding light of the explosion are a source of light that moves through the frame of the photograph. As with other light trails, the opportunities to make creative photographs are endless. And as with any light trails, you should first have a sturdy tripod and preferably a remote release, cable, infrared, whatever, use your cell phone, whatever. Have a release for your camera. But here's a few key settings to think about for photographing a fireworks show. First, manual focus on a distant point. Use manual settings, of course. Um, ISO controls the light. Start with an ISO of 100. We'll get more into that later. Set your aperture to control the light and the depth of field. That's going to be your main control with these light trails, with fireworks. Um, but you really want to just control the light and not blow out the colors, which we'll talk about again in a few minutes. And then a long enough exposure to capture the light trails. So really, with fireworks, you're just trying to capture a slice of time as the fireworks expands and moves throughout the sky, right? So I try to go about 3 to 5 seconds roughly. So um, yeah, settings already talked about that. Fan focus on a distant light. Um, you'll be leaving that alone, so you could actually tape that in place if all you're going to do is just take pictures of the expanding fireworks. You're not going to do the focus pulling. Start with an ISO of 100, aperture of around f11 to f16, and like I say, long enough exposure to capture the light trails, 3 to 5 seconds. And it's really your choice. If you feel like you're getting enough light, enough trailing of the fireworks at 3 seconds, that's good enough. If the show is very fast paced, 3 seconds is good enough. If it's a slow show and the fireworks are taking a long time to expand larger, then a longer time is certainly possible. The problem is if you get too long of a time, then the fireworks shots start to overlap and you don't know what you'll get. So back to exposure can be controlled a couple different ways. Shutter time, first of all, which is what you just talked about, 3 to 5 seconds. More if you want, less if you want. It all depends on what the show is like. The key is to press the shutter when you hear that thump or soon after you hear the thump of the launch of the fireworks. So there'll be a bit of a delay from, being far away. There's a little bit of a delay for the sound to reach you. But when you hear that thump, that whoomp sound as the fireworks starts to launch out of the tube, you can start the exposure. Sometimes you can catch a picture of the trail going upward and then the explosion itself. It all depends on the timing of the exact fireworks. Some of the higher ones take longer to get up than the others. So like I say, if the pace of the show is faster, you might want a shorter exposure, 3 to 5 seconds. The key here is the exposure is not controlling the amount of light. It's the aperture and the ISO that's controlling the light. The aperture, the shutter time is really just controlling the slice of time or the length of the fireworks movement. So if you're not getting enough light trails, lengthen the exposure, basically get more time. If you're getting too much, then shorter time, whatever. You can go back and forth, tweak it back and forth. Another way to do this, and I never used this, I've tried it, but I just didn't like it, is you can put the shutter on bulb, which means that the shutter is open the whole time. As soon as you press the shutter, but the shutter button, I should say, and just use a piece of cardboard, your hand, or the lens cap to basically open in front of the lens, let the light into the lens. So you press the shutter to start the exposure, remove your hand or the cardboard or whatever is blocking the lens, and then close the shutter again to end the exposure. So to me, it's not as effective as just using the shutter time. The thing about putting something in front of your lens is make sure you don't bump the camera so you induce motion into the camera. There's enough things going on that you're going to have bumps of the camera anyway. So once you get an image, first thing to do is review the image to see if the colors are blown out. You can see in this picture that the colors here, these brighter yet red colors, are kind of blown out. The yellows are kind of marginal. They're starting to get a little bit washed out, so they're getting a little bit too bright. And you use, as I say, use the aperture to control the amount of light coming into the sensor. So shutter is for the length of the exposure or the length of the light trail, but aperture is really your main control for controlling the amount of light that's coming in. So if it's too bright like this one, you'll want to stop down a little bit to a larger number or a smaller aperture, whichever way you want to say it. And one thing to watch is certain colors in fireworks are brighter than others. You may not notice it with your eye, but the camera definitely notices it. Reds, yellows, greens a little bit, depends on the green, are usually easy to blow out. Reds primarily get blown out like you can see here in this picture. The reds are just getting blown out here. So keep an eye on those and then adjust your exposure so that you don't blow those colors out. But blues, sometimes greens, the purples are just lighter colors and they don't tend to blow out as much. They're much more on the dimmer side. You can see there's some blues here, but they're much more dim, even down here, much more dim in this picture. But the reds are really tend to blow out, and then the yellows. So keep an eye on those. Make sure you're not blowing those out. You can always lighten them later, but to some degree. But once they're blown out, you can't recover any detail. So if the colors are blown out, if you're just getting too bright, then just, like I say, raise the f-stop to a larger number or a smaller aperture, a smaller opening. If the light trails are just too dark, you're getting a huge gap on the right-hand side of your histogram, open the aperture a little bit, just half a stop at a time. Don't go too crazy, or a third stop at a time. Don't go too crazy because you don't want to blow things out, like I say. Keep the skies dark, but also keep the color of the fireworks in mind. As if you overexpose the fireworks, you will start to get paler and paler colors, just wash out the colors. So it's good to have something you can work with and have it be a little bit on the dark side. Definitely you'd like to have the skies be dark to provide the best contrast. So really just set the exposure. Oh yeah, be careful when you're adjusting your brightness. You don't want to chase a blue one and raise your exposure and then have a red one come in that blows out your color. So really think about the colors that you're adjusting for. And then really just set your exposure for the brightest highlights. Adjust the brightness later in processing. I'll show you some examples of that later on. One thing to think about fireworks is to frame wider than the fireworks. You can always crop later. It's better to have too much space than to have fireworks just running off the edges. It creates a bit of intensity at the fireworks close to the edges, but you don't want to miss half of them. my first year at Bay City, this is a picture from then. I was forced to crop heavily because I had just purchased, I spent all my money on a new mirrorless camera. I only had a 16 to 35 lens, and I really needed something in the 80 to 100 range. So, but even so, with that camera, 24 megapixels and 35 millimeters, I was able to process some pretty nice shots, I think. So, this is from that raw photo on the left, right? So it's all about, this one's all about the processing, cropping and processing. So if you take the picture wide enough, you can always crop in later and adjust it. And you can see how dark it is in the foreground. Yeah, so. And I'll show you a little bit later some of those, how to process the picture. I'll talk about it a little bit here, but. Well, I don't recommend shooting wide for all your shots, but again, since I only had that 16 to 35 lens for my full frame camera, I had enough space to crop and to fill the frame. So here again, left is the unprocessed image, is the raw image, right is the fully processed image. So I had a lot of room to crop in and still enough pixels that the picture came out just fine. So I was real happy with this series. I think this is from 2018 or 17, I can't remember. And once you've got bored of regular fireworks, you can start playing with changing the camera zoom while exposing. That's what this one is just zooming in or zooming out probably, going from 35 to 16 millimeters most likely near the end of the exposure. So when you're zooming during exposure, you can zoom in or out, it doesn't matter. You can zoom in or out at the beginning of the fireworks launch, or you can do it at the end. It's really up to you. The timing is all about your own creativity and what you want to play with. But it's really random because you really don't know what fireworks are coming up. One nice thing about Bay City is there's a lot of lights along the water from all the boats. So I get these nice lines here in the foreground to play with too when you zoom in. So you can even change directions during the shot as well. So you can go in and out at the same time. It doesn't matter. It's all up to your creativity. And just use your imagination, be playful, try new things. Try zooming in and out, try moving the camera. There's all kinds of things that you could do. You could even twist the camera during the exposure. Again, you got a 3-second or a 5-second exposure to play with. So there's a lot of things you can do. So this image was made, I shot the fireworks shot, I waited a count of 3, and then I zoomed in at the end, or zoomed out, excuse me. So this was zooming near the end of the exposure. And then once I cropped and processed it, it looked something like this. So again, Bay City is nice because it has all these boats, and there's a carnival up there that has a lot of lights that creates a lot of ground lights for the foreground. Another option, which I'll show in a few minutes, is to combine 2 images into one shot. So here's 2 different images that I combined in Photoshop. I processed them first individually, processed them very similar. I was on a tripod, so they lined up perfectly, and bring them into Photoshop in layers. And then the blending mode, which again I'll show later, select the lighten blending mode, and you just blend those 2 pictures together into one picture. So it looks like one picture. So the blend lighten mode really just takes the brightest part of each image and combines them together. So it looks like it's a much more intense fireworks show than it actually was, at least at that moment. So it's kind of a fun way to do things. So this is my friend Randy. He's going to help us out in a minute. If you want to take your fireworks shots to a completely new level, you can delve into a very creative technique called focus pulling. Some call it focus blur or focus changing. Really, you're just changing the focus during exposure. But whatever you want to call it, this is a really unique look for fireworks. The idea is that you change the focus of the fireworks as the fireworks start to explode. So as the firework expands, after it's launched and up in the air, as the fireworks expands outward, you're either defocusing or focusing. The picture on the left starts out very thin and small, so it's in focus. But as the firework expands, I defocus the image. So that's one way to look at it. Start from focus to defocus. Well, the one on the right is the opposite. I was defocused to begin with. You see these really wide looking tentacles here that sharpened up into a single line. So I was defocused. As it expanded, I focused. So completely different look. I like the one on the right better personally. I do tend to do that a lot more. And it's much more predictable, I think. The one on the left just it looks kind of like a dandelion, I think, but it creates some fun effects nonetheless. So this technique takes advantage of what's called circles of confusion. That's a photographic term. So it's something that occurs in the background when you use a wide aperture, and that's where Randy comes back in. Circle of confusion occur when points of lights are defocused, like these Christmas lights in the background, or these Christmas lights in the background. Those are those circles of confusion, basically defocused points of light. It's exactly the same thing we're playing with when we're defocusing or playing with the focus pulley. They show up in fireworks because of the bright point of light is contrasted with the really dark sky as well. So it's the same as defocused Christmas lights or bright highlights or other points of light, except the lights are moving and they're further away and they're a little bit more unpredictable. It's almost the same. Almost.
You make it sound easy.
It is. Once you get the hang of it, once you get over the hump, it's really not that bad. So it's really about technique.
How long did you have to practice it before you got it right?
I'm still working on that.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Yeah, you don't hit all the time, right? You just don't. It's a random thing. It's
Right.
It's like in camera movement. It's random what you get panning, right? It's just you never know quite what you're going to get. But when it hits, it's really nice. So anyway. So for the crisp, fine lines of a normal fireworks, you need a smaller aperture. But for focus pulled fireworks, you really need a much larger aperture. You really need really defocused light trails, right? So you've already got the minimum aperture. I can't reduce the amount of light. Can't open the aperture and reduce the amount of light with ISO. That's already down at the minimum. I don't want to change the shutter time. I still want the same 3 to 5 seconds. So how do you control the light with a wider aperture, right? That's the question. Well, what you do is you use something called a neutral density filter. ND4, ND8, depending on how much light you want to knock down. A 2 or 3 stop filter will reduce the amount of light coming in through the lens without you changing anything that's on the camera, the triangle. So so reduce your ISO to the minimum. No, come on. You can add a 2 or a 3 stop filter. I like to use a 3 stop filter. Gives me a little more flexibility. And then here's the approximate setting change for focus pulled versus regular fireworks. So regular fireworks, I said, was f11 to f16, shutter 3 to 5 seconds, ISO 100. So ISO and shutter are the same, but really with that 2 to 3 stop filter, you can really open up the aperture and make those tentacles larger, however you want to call them. Some people call them tentacles. So now that you have the settings, what's the process to capture these focus changing fireworks? How do you obtain this effect? So let's walk through it step by step. So again, as I said before, settings are the same except for the larger aperture, right? And that's still your way to control the amount of light is through the aperture, just the same as before. First, you want to set focus. So focus on something that's distance, focus on the previous fireworks, whatever. Find out where your focus point is. And the way I'm approaching this is I'm going to go defocus to focus, but we'll do that in a second. So then you place your fingers on the focus ring. I like to choose like 3 and 9 on the clock or 6 and 12 on the clock on the focus ring. So make sure you're on the focus ring, not the zoom ring, nothing else, just the focus ring. So I know where my fingers are. Usually I go 6 and 12, right? So up and down above the lens, above the lens, above the focus ring. Then you turn the focus ring to about, 2 digits on the clock. So, 5 and 11 or 2 and 8 or whatever. You just rotate it around so that you defocus the lens. Seems easy enough, right? So just think about that clock again. You're just going from 12 to 11 to maybe 10 o'clock with your upper finger. And then just like before, when you hear that fireworks thump, you go ahead and click the shutter. That's when your 3 to 5 seconds starts. Once you see that fireworks start to expand, then you turn that focus back to where your finger was originally. In my case, 6 and 12, right? So I rotate it from out of focus to focus, nice and slowly, nice and gently, and put that focus ring back in the position you had in step number 3. So again, you're going from defocus to focus. Once the shutter ends, you can look at the image and see how well you did. Make sure your camera is back in focus, because sometimes it may not be. You may not have gotten it all the way back to that 6 and 12 position or whatever you started with. And then just go back to step 1. Set focus again, put your fingers on the focus ring, defocus it a little bit, remember where your fingers are and where you want to go back to, and then click the shutter. Yeah, same thing. And the things you can play with too, if you review your images, you can play with which direction the focus ring is turned. You can play with how much you defocus. So maybe you only go 1 clock position, or maybe you go 3 clock positions. It all depends on how much you want to play with, how much the size is going to change of those tentacles and the fireworks. And then you can play with going faster or slower. Generally, I found that slower is better. Gentler is better. If you get a little too radical, they change very abruptly and they don't taper as nicely. So nice and slow will taper it nicely. But you can play with it, right? You can do whatever you want. And it's one of those things where less is better. Don't go too crazy on defocusing. Just because you can go to the three numbers on the clock doesn't mean you should. Try the shorter ones first, maybe even half a number or something. So just play with that. Now for the weird part. Most of the newer lenses don't stop at infinity. My old lens that I first did in Bay City did stop at infinity. So I would always snap back to being in focus at the end just by hitting a stop in the lens back when they were mechanically controlled. Today, they're not mechanically controlled. Most newer lenses today, if you turn that focus ring, it just turns and turns and turns. It's not actually connected to the mechanism inside that moves the elements to cause focus or not. It's really just an input to the camera telling it what you want it to do. So without it being mechanically connected, then you don't know where it starts and where it stops. So yeah, focus ring is just an input device today. So again, you can check this. If your focus ring just spins and spins and never stops, then it's one of these mechanical input devices. So now here's the weird part. Some lenses focus quicker the faster you turn the focus ring. Remember I said try to do it gently when you're refocusing. So some lenses, as you turn the focus ring quickly, they advance the focus much faster. So if you're at 10 o'clock and you're trying to get back to 12, but you do it quickly, maybe you'll hit focus actually at 11. It all depends. So gentle and slow is usually better. There's ways with some lenses that you can actually go in and reprogram and turn that function off. My Tamron lens is that way, but it kind of gets into the technical side of things. So generally, if you want to just take things nice and slow and gentle and not get too anxious to get the focus back into position. So any questions on this?
Nope. I just know mine doesn't have a stop on the ring. I just checked.
Yeah. Basically, if it just rotates, then it's just an input device.
Yep. What I expected.
Yeah, which is a disappointment, but it just makes it a little more challenging.
I'll just have to practice more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
going to
just
be
play with it.
about a 4-hour display, so we have plenty of time, right?
Yeah, right. Another thing you can do is you can buy these stops for your camera. They're actually called focus pulling stops or focus shifters. And they're basically a bar that connects to your focus ring. and then you put a stop on your lens too, that you can actually put it back and forth between the two positions. And that's where the phrase focus pulling comes from. It comes from the film industry, where as an actor is moving away from or toward the camera, the focus needs to follow that movement, right? So that that person doesn't go out of focus in the film. And then focus pullers, the guy who actually does that, will actually rotate the focus as the actor moves through the scene. And they'll use an arm like this on the lens with preset stops or preset marks to tell them where the focus is for 10 feet away versus 15 feet away. So that's where the term focus pulling comes from, is from the person who actually change focus on the film industry. So, but you can buy these sort of things. I don't think they're as valuable today with non-mechanical lenses, because they can get out of adjustment quickly. If you try to do it too quickly, it'll advance itself. So best to just take things nice and slow and adjust and check your focus between every shot or between every group of shots. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. So you've been through this before. You've been cheating. So processing wise, I'll go through some pictures and process them. So ones on the left are the raw image and ones on the right are the processed image. You can see the kind of changes that I make. Mostly we'll be making changes to the color temperature. I like to sometimes add contrast. I didn't on these, but add clarity. I love clarity in the fireworks pictures. Dehaze is nice, especially if you have a lot of smoke. And then just play with whatever colors you want. If you want more vibrance, you want more saturation, you can just play with that as much as you want. And I put the settings in here too. The previous one was 6 seconds at the top, 4 seconds at the bottom. So, it all depends. I'm in that 3 to 5 range that I mentioned, ish, ish. So yeah, these are both at 6 seconds. Yeah, it all depends on the fireworks and how fast they're expanding. Yeah, the larger the shell, the longer it takes to expand. So if you see they're shooting some larger shells, you might want to up your shutter time a little bit. And then processing wise, again, very similar. I'll show you how to set the color temperature. Yeah, exposure I played with, clarity, vibrance, saturation. It's all about what looks good to you, right? There's no right or wrong here. It's just what you like and what you don't like. And these were some interesting ones from the show probably about 3 years ago in Bay City. Really came out looking like flowers, I think. Again, 4 seconds, right? It all depends. So, and these are just impossible to predict as to what's going to happen. You just don't know what's coming next. So these are pretty much the way they happened, except for this dandelion looking one. I did add that vertical line there to put the dandelion down to the base leaves. But the base leaves were there and that explosion was there. So it's just happenstance the way it came out. It just came out in a interesting way, shall we say.
How about that one with a tulip looking yellow?
Yeah, that was one shot. So basically
Really?
the tulip part was first, and then there was something that came afterwards that's all in focus, right?
Yeah.
So that had to have come afterward. That's after I was already in focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's your shot.
Yeah, it's all just random. And you can see for these focus pulling ones, I'm at f5, right? I'm at a wider aperture to try to get some thicker tentacles. One thing about if you go too low on the aperture, you're basically spreading the light out. So if you go too low on the aperture, you'll thin the light out and you won't have as much light to play with. So because basically you're spreading the light out. So it's the same amount of light, it's just thinner, basically. And then this is what we'll see in Pittsburgh, the barge right at the confluence of the rivers. Really nice, quote unquote, normal fireworks shot. Yeah, this is Bay City. I really like the water. Bay City, Michigan puts on a really great show every year. I'm going to miss it this year, unfortunately, in Pittsburgh. But nice reflection. The boats are nice. And then they shoot them from just beyond one of the bridges. And it's just a really nice show. You can get some great stuff there with just the quote unquote normal fireworks. Give you nice reflections in the water. play with the focus. Zooming is during exposure, which is always fun to do. So this one, you can see this whole exposure happened before I moved the zoom or after, one of the two. So that's why these strings are all connected there. They don't have these streamers like the other lights do.
Hey, Scott, Bay City is changing this year. They're shooting the fireworks from the east side for the first time since 2012.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't looked at it. And then, yeah, just more pictures. Here's one with focus pulling. I really like this one. This was from a couple years ago. That's one of my favorites. Just like the nice light fade in this one. The color change is awesome. If you can get those fireworks that are different colors, I think those are the best ones. Ones that change colors as they expand. Although the single color ones like this one turn out really nice too. These are all from different locations. This is when I was down on one of the islands in the river a couple years ago. This is out at one of our metro parks. They do fireworks every year. In fact, I think it was last Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. But unfortunately, I missed it this year. But yeah, they do nice, and I love the reflection in the water on Kent Lake. Yeah, but did the focus pulling there. There's an interesting one, right? So two fireworks exploded at once. One looked like a crown on top of the other, I think. So you just don't know. You have no idea to know what you're going to get. So no way to predict it. And I really like these ones that are multiple colors. I think those are really the most interesting. And this one too, you saw that one earlier.
That's neat.
Yeah, those are fun. I like these because I can isolate just the fireworks in the sky and not have anything in the foreground. I can choose back and forth which way I want to go. So, or I can do the reflection too, if it's low enough. Back to Bay City, they do these ground-based fireworks, which is really create these nice wings, if you will. Almost look like the Calatrava building in Milwaukee.
Looks like the Opera House in Sydney.
Or the Opera House. Yeah, looks like the wings of that museum in Milwaukee to me. But again, I love the ones that change colors, right? Green, red, blue. This is really nice.
Is that from one shot?
That's all one shot. Yeah.
Wow.
So the fireworks still changed color as they expanded. Same with this one too, right? There's different tentacles with different colors. They just come out very, very interesting, very nice. This one too, a lot going on in this one. You could see how it went from defocus to focus here, down here through the ground lights, and as well as in the fireworks too. And that's multiple shots together, 2 or 3 shots together. 3 or 3 firework shots together, not camera shots. That's a single picture.
Right.
Yeah, and this one too, right? The colors change as they go outward. Kind of fun to see.
Is that something new, or have I just not seen fireworks in a few years?
Yeah, you've never seen fireworks in a few years.
Yes.
Or never seen them this way, right? It's just hard to discern that when it's something that happens within 1 or 2 seconds, right? So this is from focus to defocus. You can see that because it starts out as a small tail and then expands. But it just creates interesting effects. This almost looks like static electricity or lightning. And then completely the opposite, right? Big fat tentacles here that taper down into single lines. And the same thing here. You can see how the bright light here just went from fat to thin. And yeah, little sparkles afterwards are kind of out of focus, but yeah, fun stuff, fun to play with. Again, reverse here, right? Going from focused to defocused. To me, it creates that dandelion look. I really like that. This one's much more abstract. Each one of the legs of the fireworks went different distances, I think. It's kind of interesting. And then this one here is just overlaid on top. That's a full fireworks that was completely in focus. So it's shot after the others. Yeah, if you time it right, you can get it just in the core. You can get the expansion right in the core. This seems to be 2 shots together, I think, and then a bunch of little smaller ones together. Not really the grand finale, but close. And this is one of my favorites because the fireworks shot itself was 4 colors in 4 different quadrants. I thought that was really, really cool and interesting.
Wow.
I would love to do that one again. I can't believe this color here too. That's just amazing. But anyway, we'll go into Lightroom here in a second. let me switch gears here. Okay, you can see my Lightroom now, right?
Yeah, I assume that's what it is.
Yep. Do you guys use Lightroom or what do you use? Anything?
No, not me. I don't use hardly any. I just
No
use what's
editing?
in the camera. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't use anything.
Well, let me go through a couple things here. So these are some shots greatly weeded from the Detroit show last year, and there's some decent shots here. From this is from Windsor, Canada, looking back across the river at Detroit City. So nice. It's nice because the barges are in the middle of the river. You can't really tell it here, but they just shoot straight up into the sky. So you get some
Wow.
nice shots. But when I process these shots, when I go into the develop module, usually I just hit auto, right? Let's see where it goes.
Hmm.
And it does pretty well, right? It gets me a good baseline. The other thing I do is as I look at the white balance, and generally I like a tungsten white balance. So I like the sky a little bit bluer, not that blue. But so on this one, I'm going to probably dial it back a little bit. Right. So start as a tungsten, but then dial back a little bit. But I really like this. I like to play with clarity quite a bit because I think clarity really makes it snap quite a bit. Dehaze, if it's really smoky, can help darken the sky and remove some of the haze. And then you can play with texture too, right? You can add a little texture, give it a little more grittiness in the fireworks. So, something like that is what I would edit it. If you really want to bump up the color, you can play with the vibrance or saturation, maybe just a little bit of saturation. So that's the kind of editing I like to do, real simple and quick. But since these were all from the same picture, same series, I'm going to set these all with the same sort of settings. So in Lightroom, you do that just by selecting a whole group of pictures. And then you can sync the settings and choose which settings. So now all those settings I made in the first picture get made to all the pictures that I've just selected. So
Wow.
it can be that quick, right?
Hmm.
So it's not perfect. I mean, this one's still a little bit dark. Oh no, it just made the adjustment. There you go. It's just trying to catch up. But yeah, it does pretty well, right? So here I've processed all these
Oh, that's-
pictures that quickly, right? This one's a little bit, maybe a little bit overexposed. You got to go back in and look at them, right? This one might be a little bit too bright. The white color is a little bit too bright. Same with this one. You can see it's starting to blow out the colors a little bit. So those, I'd probably just delete those, probably get rid of those because they're white. But they're nice. They're like palm trees kind of, right? With
Yeah.
all the different, yeah. So I mean that's the quick way to do this. Yeah. This one looks a little bit on the dark side, so I'd probably pump that one up a little bit in brightness. Maybe the highlights, right? You can look at what changes different things. So I just keep it nice and simple. Now I want to show you something else. Let's pick a couple of these pictures that we think will go well together. Let's pick that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. And I just picked, 5 pictures. I'm going to open those in Photoshop as layers in Photoshop. So kind of advanced thinking here too. But so that's going to bring in all 5 of those pictures in Photoshop as one image, but in different layers. So if you remember the old flimsy machines, right? The old doing projectors and stuff, you could lay sheets on top of that and have it project them. And this just lays them all on top of each other. Well, let's see if I can get it over to the other screen though. Not gonna let me. It's gonna open them on the other screen, of course. I'll get it moved over as soon as it's done loading. Ah, too big.
Got something.
There it goes. So I just brought all those pictures into Photoshop. One, two, three, four, five pictures, right?
You got 5 layers there?
5 layers. Yep, one, two, three,
Okay.
four, five, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit Command 0, which brings them all to fit within my screen. Now my Photoshop may look different than your Photoshop. I move the toolbar all to the right side so that I'm not mousing back and forth, but that's just a personal preference thing. But what I'm gonna do is, again, these are all those same pictures, right? If I turn the vision off for each one, it's all the same pictures. So how do I get them all to look together? I can do what's called change the blend mode, which is this thing right here. I selected these 4 pictures, change the blend mode to lighten.
Jeez.
Yeah. So now I've got that base image, but then I've got 4 other images that are kind of translucent right on top of it that I can combine together, right? And I can play with which ones I want to use, right? Maybe I like that one, maybe I don't like that one, maybe I like that one. And then I can just play with them until I get something I like. Now, that one's kind of a duplicate, so I'm going to turn that one off, right? That one's kind of clouding everything up. So I kind of like those 3 images, right? So now I've gone from 3 single images to 1 image just that quickly. And I'd go in and probably clean up this spot up here, but it just shows how easy it can be, I think, to process some of these images. Yeah. And it really helps to have the tripod because I knew it was always the same position, right? They're all registered. If I wanted to, I could align the pictures as well, but you can see what a different picture you get, right? From this to this, right? So,
Yeah, looking at the buildings, nothing moved.
right.
Yeah, so you're lined up really good.
Yeah. But I mean, really all of it does is it just takes the lightest part of each image and just blends it with the one below it. So this one I don't turn to blend lighten. It's the normal mode, but all the others are blend lighten. If you look at it, blend lighten, blend lighten. And it just takes the lightest part of each image and combines them all together. So pretty straightforward, but it's a fun thing to do. So even the reflection, right? Even the reflection in the water changes
Yeah.
because it's lighter than the darker blue behind it or darker colors behind it. So that's just kind of a fun way to look at pictures. Yeah. Yeah.
Neat.
Let's go back to the library. Yeah, these are some of those raw pictures from Kensington. I had one here I wanted to look at. Yeah, let's look at this one. So we'll develop this one real quick. Or not. Oh, there it goes. So auto's already hit, right? So that seems a little dark. Again, I kind of like to start with the tungsten, but then turn on the blue a little bit, a little more yellow. Tungsten seems a little bit too blue for me, but creates a nice image. Clarity, I think, adds a lot to the image. You can see I hope you can see how the fireworks just creates a lot of contrast now. You can see all the tentacles and that sort of thing. Clarity helps a little bit with all the snappiness of it. Let me zoom in a bit, maybe not that much. Whoops, just go to 100. Yeah, you can see how each one of these kind of sharpens it up a little bit, defines the lines a little better. The dehaze too will help darken the background and it adds some contrast and saturation to the colors as well. It adds a lot of contrast. So yeah, and then you could play with cropping it, right? I would probably do this as a square crop and then just bring it in. And there's your image more or less. Play with the crop a little bit, but yeah, that's to me that's all it takes. This one, I'll go ahead and crop this one early just so you can zoom in on it. Oops, I didn't do a square. So again, we can hit auto and see what it looks like. Maybe a little dark. But what I like about this one is all the lines that are in the tentacles, right? So You'll see what the clarity does. If I start playing with the clarity, it really helps define those lines. Makes them look more like dandelions. What do you call those little seeds from dandelions, right? With the streamers behind them, right? I think they almost look like that, or shooting star flowers or something. So texture can add a little bit to it. Dehaze helps separate it from the background a little bit, I think. But now this center looks a little dark. You can do adjustments there too. Just add a radial adjustment, right? So now I'm only adjusting just where that circle is. So I can play with that lighter or darker or whatever. Or I can create another one in the middle. Maybe decrease the exposure there, right? So you don't have that bright spot. So yeah, let's see if I can hit this before and after. So anyway, any questions on that? It's kind of everything that I had. Go ahead and stop the share, and I'll stop the recording.